Hi, today is Wednesday, the 19th of February, and my topic today is the seventh step in the 8D problem solving methodology, D7, prevent recurrence. Now, I realized there was a gap in time between the D6 and the D7 video. I have been in ISO 9001 lead auditor training full time last week. Plus, I was doing my project management training and I'm on the board of two nonprofits, so I was doing some volunteer work. On top of that, I have three career opportunities knocking on the door, so wish me the best on that. And I want to mention the weather here in the Dallas area. We got a cold blast. It was 15 degrees when I got up this morning. The roads are fine, but we've got lake effect snow blowing around out there. It's gorgeous, but not something we normally see here in this part of the country. So on to D7. The entry criteria for D7 is you want to have determined the verification criteria for your corrective actions in D6, although the verification doesn't necessarily need to be entirely complete to start your D7 planning. You want to have your list of corrective actions that you determined in D5. You need to have your root causes that you determined in D4, have the containment that you determined in D3 complete, and have the problem statement that was defined in D2. And of course, you want to have the team that you formed in D1. Now, can you think of a time when you worked with someone to solve a problem and you thought you had this great solution implemented, but then you go back a few weeks later to find out things are as bad as they've ever been? And this is what we want to avoid with the 8D process in general. And D7 is a step where we lock in our changes and ensure that they deliver the results we want. This is also the time to think about how we're going to respond if the process starts to drift back to the problem. What do you do? So, you don't have to wait until all the corrective actions are verified in D6 to start planning for D7, although if you later have a failed verification, you may have to adjust your D7 planning. One of the first things you want to address in D7 is how to validate the corrective actions to ensure that they effectively address the root causes and the problem. Now, you don't necessarily need to validate each individual corrective action, but focus on how the root causes have been addressed and the effect that has on eliminating the problem that you defined in D2. Next, think about how you're going to monitor this process to make sure the problem doesn't creep back in. Consider the cycle time of your process. With some processes, you may need to wait a year to see the results of changes that you made. With others, they may run through this process every day or several times a day, and you can see the results right away. So consider these questions. How often should you check in? How much labor and resources do you want to dedicate to this? Is there a way to automate the data feed to give stakeholders a real-time information dashboard? Is there a low-cost way to make the results visible to everyone? And probably most importantly, who will be responsible for monitoring the process? Here's a few ideas on how to monitor. You can use statistical process control, SPC, or a run chart. Now, this would be useful if you have performance data, such as the percentage of rejects per production run or something like that. And depending on the signals that you get from the control charts, you'll need to determine the actions you'll take once one of those SPC triggers are met. Another idea is add the process to your audit plan, or you could schedule a follow-up assessment. You could create an automated dashboard that shows the status of the process, or create an in-process inspection with something traceable like a signature. And use your imagination from there, but make sure you understand how much cost is associated with the actions you choose and how those actions will deliver value in the future. Now, depending on the process, problem, and solutions, D7 may take the form of just putting the pieces together to have a plan, or you and your team may have to think outside the box to come up with ideas on how to prevent recurrence. In this latter case, you may have to do the kind of brainstorming exercise you did in the early stages of the 8D process. So, the exit criteria for D7 planning is have all the corrective actions verified, and that's part of D6. Have a plan to validate the corrective actions not yet validated. Have a plan to follow up to ensure root causes were effectively addressed, and have a plan to monitor the process in relation to the problem statement that you determined in D2. At this point, the planning for D7 is complete, but the activities for D7 may go on indefinitely. It's open ended. You might finish it in a year or 6 months, but it's up to you and your team to make this determination. And that's all I have for D7 for you. Thank you for watching my video. And remember to help someone today and make all the good things happen. Goodbye.